Well, the NYPD Quality of Life Division's pilot program is now underway with Q teams serving in 6 precincts so far. They hope to expand the task force handling the complaints of everyday New Yorkers.
All right, the team proposed by NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch looks to tackle issues like rising panhandling complaints and e-bike violations.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tisch is with us in studio today. Nice to have you back on Good Day New York.
Always lovely to be with you, Rosanna.
So yesterday, I'm drinking my coffee, reading the New York Post, and I nearly fell out of my chair when I read the op-ed from you talking about a crackdown on e-bikes.
Yes.
What happened? What compelled you to do this?
We are cracking down on e-bikes largely because we get so many community complaints about it. I think virtually every New Yorker has had the experience of jumping out of the way of a careening e-bike in the crosswalk or pulling their kids out from its path. And we are cracking down. We're doing a lot of enforcement now on the basic rules of the road associated with e-bikes. So going too fast, running a red light, disobeying traffic signals, going the wrong way. Bikes obviously are an important transportation method now in New York City, but they don't work if there isn't meaningful enforcement of the basic traffic safety rules that they have to follow.
So, you know, I've had a bunch of friends who've been hit by e-bikes, and there's no recourse. You can't find them. I'm helping them try to get surveillance video from, you know, the sky. Have you talked to the city council? Have you talked to the DOT about possibly licensing these e-bikes so that there's some kind of recourse? You go after the business, whatever.
Yeah, and I know those conversations are ongoing. What doesn't work is the paradigm where there are no rules that apply to e-bikes. And so what we are doing at the police department as a first step is just enforcing those basic rules that really haven't been enforced at all. Clearly, the laws around e-bikes have to change, and I leave that to the city council to work with DOT to do that. But right now, what we can do at the police department is crack down on the traffic safety issues.
Are you giving them tickets, and how much?
Yeah, we are giving them tickets. Historically, they've been given summonses that you'd get as a driver, but because drivers have licenses, if you don't pay your ticket or you don't go to court, you lose your license. So there's real meaning to those tickets if you drive a car. But on an e-bike, because you don't have a license, those tickets were nonsense. They were meaningless. So we've started giving them criminal summonses for reckless driving of e-bikes.
Does this, obviously this is a quality of life issue in New York City. Does this fall within the division of what the Q teams are doing, or is this a little bit outside of what they would normally focus on?
This is part of what the quality of life teams are doing and will be doing, but we've also supplemented the quality of life teams so we can be citywide on this enforcement of e-bikes.
And of course, those Q teams have garnered a lot of attention because they have been relatively popular in certain neighborhoods where they have been deployed. People can contact 311 and these teams respond, which maybe hasn't been the way it's gone in the past. How is that going, and what's the plan next step?
It's actually going really well. You know, the NYPD has been so good for such a long time at responding to 911 calls for service. But where I thought that we really needed some work was responding to 311 calls for service, those quality of life things, abandoned vehicles, unruly vending on the streets, the things that give New Yorkers the feeling of chaos and disorder. So now we're going precinct by precinct, rolling out teams in each precinct that are focused just on responding to 311 as opposed to 911.
And so where will you expand these teams now?
We're working on it now, on the expansion, but what we're going to be doing is looking at the data. Where are we getting the most complaints about quality of life? And that will guide how the expansion goes. But this is something we're looking to do quickly and aggressively. It has been extremely popular in the precincts where we have rolled it out, and we're looking to move fast.
Can we talk about the teen gangs? We're hearing a lot about that. Robbers, are they part of the Q team, or is that something else?
No, gang is separate from the quality of life teams. That's more of our crime and violence.
Are you seeing more crime with young people? I mean, we're hearing ages of, you're arresting 14-year-olds.
Absolutely. In 2019 in New York State, we changed a lot of the criminal justice laws, and one of those dealt with how we deal with young people in the criminal justice system. Since those changes went into effect, we have seen like almost a 100% increase in the number of children arrested for a shooting and children who are victims of a shooting. Kids generally commit crimes against other kids. And so, yes, youth violence is a very big problem that we are addressing now. And it is a greater percentage of overall crime in New York City than it's been in the past.
Where do the migrant crime, we hear about those gangs that came from, you know, out of town. Where do they fit in all this?
So one thing I think that will make you lose your mind, Rosanna, knowing you, is that the city council right now is looking to abolish the main tool that we use to track which people are associated with which gangs. We call it our criminal group database.
So they want to do away with this.
They want to do away with it. They don't want us to be able to use it. But when we have gang violence, like, for example, I think you're referring to Los Diablos.
Yes.
We use that database to know who the members of that gang are, where they might retaliate. All of that is included in the gang database, and so abolishing it is just, it's unconscionable.
What can we do as New Yorkers to make sure that the city council doesn't do that?
You know, I have been very clear about it. I think it's a common sense thing that the police department needs access to this very basic, important tool, but I think New Yorkers need to speak up.
And talking about some of that gang violence, if I could just draw your attention to that terrible shooting we had in the Bronx this week. A 16-year-old girl was killed, 14-year-old taken into custody, charged with very serious crimes. And yet there's a 12-year-old who may have given that 14-year-old a gun. Any update on the status of that investigation?
Yes, that was a tragic, tragic case. We are still looking for the 12-year-old who was associated or involved in that horrific incident, and we'll let you know when we have an update.
And we know that, is that something that would fall within that gang database? I mean, when we're talking about kids that young, and theoretically, I mean, if they were sort of on that list, is that...
There are members of Los Diablos, some of whom we arrested just a week ago, that were as young as 12 years old. It's the kids who are committing violence are getting younger and younger these days.
Are there families here? Do we know if there's, because I remember at one point the city council was looking into a lot of these kids who came from the border who came with no family.
I don't know about those specific kids and whether their families are here or not.
Got it. Okay. Can we talk about the Israeli Day Parade this weekend? What concerns do you have?
Right now, we do not have any credible threats against the Israeli Day Parade. Obviously, the mayor and I will keep New Yorkers informed as we get closer to. But the NYPD is going to be out there in full force on Sunday, ensuring a safe parade for all.
Anything different than last year? Are you doing?
You know, the Israeli parade is different over the past 2 years because of the security posture. So you're going to see more security at this parade than any other parade. So, for example, we're closing down the west side of Fifth Avenue. Everyone is going to be screened before they can watch the parade. Don't bring backpacks or umbrellas if you're coming to the parade on Sunday.
Commissioner, protesters who've been outspoken against some of the issues in the Middle East and Israel have been pretty consistent, and they have shown up to protest at all kinds of different areas. I mean, you have to expect that there probably will be people who are going to be out there demonstrating and protesting this weekend with the parade.
Oh yeah, and the NYPD is always ready. Over the past 2 years, the way that we have policed protests has changed dramatically. The police have gotten very good. We have special units now that just focus on policing protests. So I believe that we are prepared for anything that comes our way.
So I'm wondering what keeps you up at night? Your son's math homework?
My son's math
homework, the city of New York.
Baseball tryouts.
Have you seen that math homework for fifth graders? Oh, goodness.
I'm not so good at the math homework.
Anyway, Commissioner Tisch, thank you for all that you do in New York City. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate it.